It took just a couple of weeks, but this video clip from 2 weeks ago playing out so nicely on the Bitcoin charts. Right now, kind of a moment of truth. We've waited weeks for this. We are here. I want to break down what is next for Bitcoin, what to watch for. Same thing with Cardano. Different types of consolidation patterns happening with Cardano. Targets to the upside, targets to the downside. It's a very volatile, kind of unknown type of range that Cardano is in right now. And for ADA holders, that could be concerning considering what these targets look like. So let's start with Bitcoin. I want to start with just saying we're ranging. We've been ranging now for quite a while. And so just like when we get kind of green bullish candles, we don't get all hyped and excited. It's the same thing. We have 3 days now, 3 day like red candles on Bitcoin. I don't start getting crazy bearish because of that. In the same sense, I don't start getting crazy bullish. But I want to discuss the move that's happening right now because it is a defining moment, because finally Bitcoin has consolidated into this 20-day moving average. Let's start from a clip from a couple weeks ago as this Bitcoin move was just getting started. But if Bitcoin sees resistance here, are we going to start seeing consolidation into kind of this new setup of a potentially an ascending triangle? So let's first look at the daily chart, and you can just see Bitcoin did see this resistance in this area. This was the swing high that we had back here in mid-April. Bitcoin saw very nice resistance and consolidation at this entire area. Now, what was the consolidation that we got? Was it kind of an ascending triangle that I speculated in that video? No, it's not an ascending triangle, but we're going to look at the daily chart. If we look at the 6 hour, it's more of just kind of this falling channel, right? And you can just see it's slightly falling. Target to the upside. I just want to make note of targets before we discuss this. Target to the upside around 33,000, just under 33,000. Target to the downside just above 28,000. The reason why I think the target to the downside is really important is because if Bitcoin were to fall out of this channel to the downside and fall to that $28,000 range, if you go to the daily chart, here's what's happening. Bitcoin would be falling below this trend line, that dotted line that you see there. And that's this macro kind of trend line. It's this very big structure that Bitcoin has been putting in, this rising wedge that Bitcoin has been putting in since the bear market low. So falling back into this area, I think is definitely considerably important event, right? Now notice what is there though. That is the 50-day moving average just below $28,000. So that's the target. When we're looking at Bitcoin on the 6 hour, we're looking at this target. If we look at it on the daily, that's right down here in this general area, right? And this is something that we see Bitcoin do all the time. And that is to say, just it pulls into these moving averages, whether it's the 20, which we're going to speak of in just a minute, or the 50, right? So it's no surprise there's a target down here around the 50-day moving average. But first things first, let's watch how this consolidation on the short term plays out for Bitcoin, because right now Bitcoin's testing this lower trend line and at the same time testing this 20-day moving average. I just want to point out to you, last time Bitcoin consolidated into the 20-day moving average, Bitcoin was actually getting ready to put in another swing high. So this could be the case where Bitcoin's kind of coming into the 20-day moving average, also confluent with this upper trend line of this rising wedge, and then Bitcoin's actually going to continue to a higher high and break 33, maybe move towards $34,000, a higher high on this macro chart, in which case we kind of have this other macro looking upper trend line in play in yellow, where we might see resistance up here, and then again, more consolidation. And then we can use, from a macro bullish confirmation standpoint, we can use this upper trend line. If Bitcoin were to make the move there, we can use the upper trend line as this crazy bullish confirmation if Bitcoin were to break above it. Notice where this is though. This is right around 33,000, just above $33,000, right? So when we're considering this target out of this channel to the upside, we could really start seeing resistance at the 33,000 to 33,000 or 33,500 area. But that would be the short-term target for Bitcoin. If this kind of turns around in the short term to the downside, we know the downside target either way, everybody. This is just Bitcoin consolidating in this macro move that it's been in since the bear market low. And right now, on this kind of more midterm chart, it is high. It's been higher highs and higher lows, right? So we're looking for another higher high or a higher low. And before we even get to these two areas, we're not getting any type of even more macro confirmations, meaning a break below this trend line or a break above this trend line. These are more shorter term moves that we're waiting for, these targets. So that's what I'm watching on Bitcoin right now. And then pivoting over to Cardano. Cardano just kind of doing its thing, trying to bottom out on the macro, on the weekly. This is what the weekly looks like. One thing I always like to point out, when you look at the last cycle lows, where we are right now in these cycle lows, maybe there's more downside. Of course, we're going to look at that in the short term, but we're putting in a higher low on the macro on Cardano. And for me, y'all know I'm very bullish on Cardano long term. The fact that this is still happening, Cardano is hanging in there with everything going on, SEC cracking down on Coinbase and suing Coinbase and listing ADA as a security, all that stuff, right? Not to mention just bear market for ADA. ADA just tends to underperform in bear markets. So I think ADA is holding up pretty strong. But again, it is the 20-week moving average. Not going to dig too much into it. It's 35 cents. Really waiting for ADA to break above and start seeing support above that area. We were getting it, and then the SEC thing happened, as you all know. But let's dig into the charts here. Couple different things going on. So ADA on the daily chart, you can just see, again, same thing as Bitcoin. And just this applies to crypto in general from my perspective. We're getting downside. We can't get all bearish and fearful because of downside. In the same sense, we can't get all bullish and hopeful because of some upside, right? Because when we were getting this upside the other day, there was no bullish confirmation. When we're getting downside back here towards the end of June, there was no bearish confirmation. So the trend stayed in play, and that is the lower trend line. This upper trend line of resistance stayed in play, and now we're still here. We're within this consolidation pattern. It's kind of an ascending triangle if you really look at this. Now, the apex, I think, is notable because that's when we'll really start to see something maybe more monumental happen. And there's another pattern in play in the very short term I want to just kind of integrate into this because it really depends how you're looking at this consolidation. But either way, notice the target to downside 23 cents, target to the upside 36.5 cents. What will ADA do in the short term? Will we see a higher low at this trend line? If we open up the daily chart on Cardano right now, not only do we want to see a higher low on price right now on this daily, we would really like to see a higher low on the RSI. So you can see RSI cooling down once again, as it did in this last drop back here. But we really want to see a continuation of this trend to the upside. Will we get that? I'm not so certain. If you look at ADA, you can see this quicker moving momentum oscillator kind of cooling down once again, coming out of oversold as it did back here. And if this is going to continue, out of overbought, if this is going to continue to oversold, this could be a case where ADA is breaking this lower trend line. In which case, if that were to happen, if crypto, with this consolidation that's taking place right now that we're watching, if crypto falls, and I'm talking about Bitcoin as well, if Bitcoin on this zoomed in chart starts falling below this lower trend line, what we're really looking for is, obviously we have our targets in play, and I'm just going to show you the similarities in targets. This ascending triangle target to the downside around 22, 23 cents. This rising channel over here that we've been tracking right around 22, 23 cents. So the consolidation, however you want to chart it, is the targets are very similar, right? But if we get a break to the downside, what we'd be looking for, again, is the pullback to the trend line it broke out of, right? So if ADA falls to the downside, will it see support at this general area down here? And then will we get the pullback before actually hitting a 22, 23 cent target? And can ADA turn this into really a busted ascending triangle, meaning kind of a fake breakout to the downside, pullback into the apex, and then a breakout to the upside? That's hopium, right? From just a technical analysis perspective, but it truly is a very common thing when it comes to these patterns. That is to say, kind of fake breakouts, a false breakout to the downside and pull back, and we end up actually going up, right? So it's just something I always like to keep in mind. It's kind of a fail safe if ADA does break below the trend line. And the same goes for Bitcoin on these charts, meaning if Bitcoin were to fall below this channel, will it pull back into the channel, right? We see that happen a lot in terms of consolidation. We're ranging, and then boom, it falls, doesn't hit the target, and pops right back in, and then to the upside, right? And same thing to to the upside, fake breakout to the upside, and then we actually fall. So that's something to always keep in mind. There are so many different moving parts to all of these charts, these patterns. There's the momentum side of things. There's the moving average side of things. And it's probably also notable just to point out, ADA right now falling below the 20-day moving average, an area we want to see continued higher highs and higher lows above. ADA falling below that right now. So 8 hours, almost 9 hours left of the daily candle for ADA. Can we close above 20, just above 28 cents? It's not even a penny away for ADA to close above that 20-day moving average. Either way, with this ascending triangle, we have swing low to swing high, and ADA is testing the higher low Fibonacci right now, the 618, right around 27.5 cents, and that 786 confluent with that lower trend line, right around 27 cents. That's the area of support for ADA on the short term. And this is what I'm watching today, just really the continued structure, the consolidation that's in play for both Cardano and Bitcoin, and we'll see what holds or what breaks. But prepared either way for all targets, and that's the name of the game for the day. I appreciate all of you. Please hit that subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Your support means a lot to me, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.